What's up, Cal Poly fans? We welcome you to another Mustang Report. I'm here with the Director of Athletics, Don Oberhelman, as the 25-26 year is underway with the men's and women's soccer teams. We'll have football here coming up week 1 at San Diego shortly, but the big news of the summer around these parts, this guy's announced retirement. Now, he's not out the door yet, but just a couple of weeks remain in his tenure. Donna, I want to talk about your legacy here, 15 years as the athletic director at Cal Poly. We've seen so many new highs from so many of these programs, obviously facilities as we sit here in the beautiful Comerford Pavilion as part of Cal Poly tennis, but why now? Why was now the right time for you to step away from Cal Poly and step away and enter the beautiful life that is retirement here on the Central Coast?
Well, my wife and I had been talking about this for a long, long time. We'd been planning, obviously, without having children. We're able to kind of do this maybe at an earlier age than some, but we've been working on this for a good decade and kind of had age 55 as our goal. We didn't know if we were going to be able to make that happen until probably about a year ago in terms of just kind of getting clearance from our folks. But I'd said for a long, long time that as soon as I can financially figure out how to retire, I'm going to do that. And for me, it was a deeply personal decision because I saw how much my parents enjoyed their retirement. Like they got everything out of life you possibly could in terms of just enjoying friends, family, travel. I want that, and my wife wants that for us, and this gives us that opportunity to be able to hit the road and be with our family, be with our friends, see the world the best that we can, continue to live in San Luis Obispo, continue to support the Cal Poly Mustangs. I think people still see me at sporting events, and I'm not going to go away anytime soon. And it's just something I'm really excited for the next chapter. There's obviously some nervousness. Everybody's saying, "How are you going to spend your time?" So I'm getting a lot of advice from colleagues in terms of how that's going to look. But I do know this: I've never been in my entire life somebody who's been bored. So I don't think I'm going to be short of things to do and things that are going to keep me interested and entertained.
Well, student athletes, coaches around here know you as the AD. You've always got your office door open. You're always willing to hear out the student athletes, the coaches, the donors, the fans here. I mean, you've always done such a good job of communicating with them over the years. And you mentioned you're not going to be a stranger, maybe not in the blazer and the button up, but how excited are you for this next chapter to kind of sit back and be a supporter of Cal Poly athletics while, maybe not having such a strong hold on it as you have as the AD the last decade and a half?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how I react to that first really bad call, at a football game or a basketball game or something. It'll be interesting to see what I do. But I think I'm going to be more low-key. I'm going to be the guy sitting in the stands and cheering on our team. I look forward to continuing relationships with the people that we've hired here. One of the things I'm most pleased with is the people that we have in our space. And I think, when you walk up and down the halls of Mott Athletic Center, you see the doors open and you can walk in any single doorway that's open and expect to get greeted and be assisted in whatever it is that you need. And that's one of the things that's always made me very pleased with we're very student athlete centric in terms of what we try to do for our students and try to help them. Cal Poly, more so than other places, those students actually are pretty self-sufficient. They're really smart young men and women. They tend to know how to take care of their own business, which makes it an even greater place to work. But it also really emphasizes when that student does enter somebody's doorway, we need to stop what we do and help them. And I think the people that we have at our university and the people we have in our athletic department are some of the best in the world at working with our students and trying to give them every tool that they need to be successful. And I'm going to miss those interactions with our people. Probably that's the thing I'm going to miss the most is those personal interactions with those folks. The daily, a student athlete darkens my door, a coach knocks on the door and walks in, and we get to help them make their day a little bit better. Whatever I can do to do that is what I'm going to do. And that's going to be the thing I probably will miss the most. It's not going to be the games.
I'm sure it feels like just yesterday you had your introductory press conference here. 15 years ago, you come up from San Diego State, but you've had a long career in sports. At what age did you have the dream of being a Division I director of athletics? And where did that journey start for you? Was it back at K-State? Was it down in Tallahassee? Take me through the amazing journey you've had in sports, in college sports.
when I first started interning at Florida State in 1995. Just chose to go back to graduate school. I was 25 years old, working on my master's in sport management because I knew sport was going to be the thing that makes me happy. And, I wanted to be somebody that didn't feel like I was working when I was at work. Well, what do you love to do? Well, I love sports. So that just tracked for me. Thankfully, fate put some really great mentors in front of me that truly cared about what I was doing and how I was doing it, and trying to teach me how to be a better version of myself, the best gentleman I can be. And sometimes I wasn't always the best worker and employee at that time and all those things. I had to learn some, but thankfully I had some mentors that were very patient. My bosses were great with me. They helped give me advice on how I can do things better, how can I communicate better, and really took an interest and took the time to invest in me. And I've always been blown away, even more so that now that I look back on it. Unfortunately, both of those men have passed. But thankfully, I've been able to thank them a lot over the many years since then for putting my feet on that pathway. And about that time was when I said, well, I'd like to be a Division I athletic director. I had no idea what that meant at that time, looking back. But I set out on that pathway and said I wanted to do it before age 40. I did it at age 40, which at the time was pretty young. I think there's a lot of sub 40-year-olds now, but at the time it was awful young to be a Division I athletic director. It was funny, I look back, I had a lot of our fans and supporters say, "You're too young to be an athletic director." Nobody said that to me in a very long time, unfortunately. I wish they would. So it put me on a pathway, and then those guys really helped me get that next step into Texas A&M, and I really skipped kind of a job. So I went straight into Texas A&M to run compliance there. The compliance education program there, really worked closely with academics, learned a lot about the inner workings of an athletic department, and then grew from there. And then I would say when I got to Southern Mississippi is when it really took off, because they're a smaller athletic program. We had probably a quarter of the employees of Texas A&M. There's a lot of need, and I was able to fit a lot of roles, and the athletic director thankfully trusted me, said, I need you to do this, this, and this, take it over, report back. And I'd do a good job, then he'd give me 3 more things. I'd do a good job, he'd give me 5 more things. And before too long, I'm supervising baseball. And before too long, I'm supervising basketball. And it just kind of grew from there for me. All those people along those pathways were people that really looked out for me and empowered me and mentored me a lot. And I've taken a lot of that to heart over the years. And as I reflect back on it, it gets pretty emotional thinking about this one fact. Without any single one of those people, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be where I am. I would never have had the opportunity to come to an amazing place like this. So I look back with an immense amount of gratitude for those people that fate put in front of me.
15 years anywhere is quite the accomplishment. 15 years here as an athletic director, at this level of Division I college athletics, you just don't see it very often. Why?
I've been asked that a couple of times, and I think the best answer I have is my wife and I have been very, very happy here. Who wouldn't be? We love living here. We get to live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. We get to work with the best and brightest student athletes in the world. I don't know, certainly there's more money maybe somewhere else, but after 6 or 7 years, you kind of look around and you realize you're already the longest tenured AD in the conference. Some of those schools have turned over 3 and 4 times, people coming and going and job hopping. And we kind of really just didn't want to do that. We wanted to create the best legacy that we could, be somewhere for as long as we can, and really, if it's somewhere you enjoy being, why wouldn't you want to do that? Now, if I were in, back in Manhattan, Kansas, near where I grew up, I probably wouldn't have that same attitude. But once we saw this amazing place and this amazing community, this is truly a Midwestern college town in its vibe and feel. It just happens to be in California with beautiful weather, beautiful people, great coastal environment, vineyards, everything you could ever ask for. I don't know how we could have done better. So we just were very, very happy, very satisfied with where we were, and really didn't want for anything else. I feel like people get in trouble when they're constantly looking over the fence to see if there's greener grass somewhere else. And I've had a lot of colleagues get into bad situations because they felt like there was greener grass somewhere else. I've never felt like there was greener grass than what we have at Cal Poly.
15 years at Cal Poly. Obviously, so much has changed, not only here, but within the landscape of college athletics. Heck, you navigated through a pandemic that nobody saw coming. You navigated through these times recently, the last couple of years, where student athletes elsewhere are getting paid more than coaches, right? So as you look back at your tenure here at Cal Poly, what are you the most proud of? Is it the facilities? Is it the championships? Is it the relationships? Or is it a mix of a little bit of everything?
Yeah, they're all kind of intertwined. You know, I think the thing I'm most proud of is the people that we have. We've got some amazing group of people here that are as dedicated as anybody you'll ever find. I think other people on college campuses would be shocked to know how the beehive of activity that our athletic department is, or any athletic department is. It's just constant. You know, the week after graduation, the campus is a ghost town. We're humming. Like, our offices are full, we got people working, we got student athletes practicing, it's business as usual. The dedication of the people that we've had, the people we've brought in, the people that are here is remarkable. And I would say all the success that we've had, you mentioned championships, graduation rates, those are things I'm incredibly proud of, but that's a byproduct of those people that I mentioned. So our graduation rates don't boom to 93%, which is one of the best in the country, without having the right people in place. We won 50 some odd Big West championships, which is more than anybody else in the conference over that time. That doesn't happen without the right people. And then the facilities, the fundraising, you know, we don't really share fundraising figures, but I'll venture to say we've out-fundraised everybody else in the Big West Conference, with the exception of possibly Hawaii. And with a lot of that being invested in facilities, we were really behind where we needed to be 15 years ago, and I feel like we've caught up now. And now that we've made these investments in facilities, I think we've got some programs that are really set up for some sustained success now, provided we can continue to make some investments in the financial aid piece.
You've laid the foundation here for a long time with all those things you mentioned, and it's hard to predict where exactly college athletics, especially at this level, is headed. But for your successor, where would you like to see this thing kind of continue headed off in, like direction-wise?
Yeah, I think I believe we're turning the keys over, you know, to somebody who can basically shepherd us into the next chapter of whatever that looks like. I think it's a better job than it was. I think it's a better department than what it was. I think they're going to have to be somebody who can try to have a crystal ball and figure out where these changes are going to go next, because that's been a very difficult thing for us to keep up with in terms of just how these lawsuits are mounting against the NCAA. Is the NCAA even going to exist in a few years? What's the next structure going to look like? What's an NCAA violation going forward? I mean, we don't even know what some of these things are going to look like. So it's going to have to be, I use the word change agent. It's going to have to be somebody that can quickly change an organization. Organizational behavior is such that change is one of the hardest things you can do. How can we continue to change and evolve our organization more rapidly than our peers, than our competition? That's what I think it's going to take, is somebody that can understand the next thing comes, we got to be ready to go. And I think we proved that with the Players Trust, which we developed. We were the first in the Big West or Big Sky to come out with that concept. And now about 3/4 of them have announced they're similar. So I'm pretty proud that we were in the forefront of that. We're maybe even a year ahead of them in those two conferences, most schools in those two conferences, with where we are. And I attribute that to our staff. You know, Jackson, Stava, Ashley Offerman, those guys really pushed us down that pathway, and I think they've done a great job in pushing me down that pathway, that we got to be one of the first to do this. And that's a little nervous. But we had the right people to get us there. And I give our entire department a ton of credit for helping us navigate all these different things that are coming our way in Division I sports to keep us at least ahead of the others in the Big West and Big Sky Conference, so we can try to continue to be competitive and be at the top. And then we're going to let Division I sort itself out as we go.
Don Oberhelman, 15 years, quite the legacy, but come on, man, you won't be a stranger. We're going to see you out there, Mustang Memorial Field, supporting the soccer, football teams, volleyball, basketball and mod, and obviously out at Jansen and Baggett when Diamond Sports roll around in the spring. Always a pleasure sitting down and chatting with you, and we look forward to seeing you around the Central Coast.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.